Hey everyone, it's Andrea, and I've got a little friend here. Kupo's hanging around, so there's his little face. Um, I've actually gotten a couple subscribers lately to my channel since I started doing these infertility and quest to have a baby, one way or another videos. So I'm kind of excited to actually have some listeners out there other than my own little circle of friends. Yeah, Kupo's excited too, aren't you, Kupo? Are you excited? Yes, you are. So, what I want to talk about today is guilt. Um, Guilt is something that I think a lot of people don't realize that at least I struggle with a lot when it comes to dealing with infertility and being childless and all that kind of stuff. It's not something that you would normally think of. So it's something that I wanted to talk about because it's probably one of the less common emotions that people think of when they think of someone who's struggling to conceive. Um, a little bit of background on my families is that out of this generation, I'm the only one who's married. I have an older brother. My brother's 31. And my husband has two brothers, David and Garrett. Garrett is one of my best friends in the whole world. He's 26, and David is my age. He's 24. Um, Out of our entire generation, there, all of us, Kellen and I are the only ones who are married. We're the only ones. Garrett and David have both never had girlfriends. My brother has had a girlfriend, but it was more than 10 years ago. So, yeah, we're the only ones who are anywhere close to having kids. And that's part of where my guilt comes in, that there's a good chance that on both sides of the family, that Kellen and I are the only ones who are going to produce grandkids for our parents. I know I'm in this to have my own family, and it shouldn't be about having grandkids for my parents or for Kellen's parents. Um, but that's one thing that kind of hurts me is that I feel like I'm denying them something because I'm struggling so much to have kids. I feel the same way about Kellen sometimes too, that I ask him if I'm wasting his daddy potential. I know Kellen will be a very good father. He's very sweet and very loving and very nurturing, and he will. He really will be a great father. He's a great father to this little monster here and to our cats. And I know he'll be the same way with a baby or a child. And so I kind of worry. It's an empty worry because I know Kellen would never leave me over something like this. There would have to be something really bad happening between us for us to break up, put it that way. But I know he would never leave me over what's going on in terms of us having a family. But I've actually asked him before, does he want to get a new model of wife because I'm broken? And I related it to, if you have an MP3 player and it's broken, aren't you going to get the newest model instead of getting that one fixed? And he's like, that doesn't make any sense. You know that that's not going to happen. You know that I don't blame you for this. You know that we're in this together. And that makes me feel better. But with my parents, anyway, I wouldn't say that they're not supportive of me having a family because they know that's what I want. But they don't talk about it with me. Like, the number of times we've talked about it, I can probably count on one hand. And I think the most it was ever talked about was when I was pregnant and I had to be, transported to get blood work done and stuff like that. And it hasn't really been much of a topic ever since I haven't been able to get pregnant again. I've talked to my mom a couple times, but she seems to kind of brush it off. I don't know why, and I don't push it then because it seems like they're not interested. I guess I don't really know how to take it. In Kellen's family, I mean, his dad, who's very much like me actually in the way we think and the way we process things, the way we react to things, I think as well. Um, he said to Kellen, he's like, I'm not gonna bring it up with her because I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to open any wounds or anything like that. But I know that he's always thinking about me and he's always hoping the best for me and Kellen. So I know that he's supportive in his own way, as well as his wife, who is Kellen's stepmom. Kellen's mother, she's kind of a hard nut to crack. I like her a lot still, but we don't always see eye to eye, so it's hard to say what she thinks there, and I don't really know. But it's weird for me to think that overall our parents really don't seem. I know my mom wants to have grandkids. She calls Kupo her grand dog, so there's that. But none of our parents seem to really even be saying much about us having kids or anything like that. It's not like we get a lot of that, so when are you going to have kids kind of thing. But I still feel guilt over it. I still feel like I'm shortchanging them somehow. I still feel like I'm shortchanging Kellen somehow. And it's a really awkward feeling. It makes all of this really hard when you start thinking about it in terms of other people besides yourself. I think that's actually the hardest part of it sometimes when I start thinking that way. And it's very awkward. And there's no one I can really explain that to because I don't know anyone who's in that same boat. So I kind of just end up either talking to Kellen about it or kind of keeping it to myself. And I know that makes it worse if I'm not really talking about it. But guilt also comes into my mind when I start thinking about adoption. I've talked about adoption before. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. I started actually looking into it a little bit more. I've been watching The Little Couple on Netflix, and they've actually really inspired me to just keep my options open, to look at everything, because they're so optimistic about everything, and they have to go through so much to get the 2 adopted children they have. So I just really want to actually keep my options open because of, what I've seen with them. Honestly, as strange as that seems. But I have been looking into adoption more, and when I think about it and I know how expensive it can be, and I know that I need to look into more about, subsidies and grants and stuff like that can make it cheaper. But I feel guilty thinking that, Kellen and I want to get our own house, we need a new car and things like that. And I'm thinking, well, I want to spend all this money to have a baby or to adopt a kid or something like that. And it's like, well, shouldn't I put the priorities of Kellen and I first? And it makes me feel guilty and almost makes me feel selfish that that's the first priority in my mind is having a family. And I know I shouldn't feel guilty for that. And I know that that's Kellen's first priority too, above anything else, is that we really want to work on having a family. That's what we've put at the forefront of our minds. That's what we've been working on for the past 3 years. And, we're not going down without a fight. I don't think we're going down at all. One way or another, there's going to be a kid running around in these hallways. And I'm not ever going to give up, like I said, on trying to have my own baby. But the more I start watching other people who are struggling and things like that, struggling to the point that I have, that it's been years and it's starting to look less and less hopeful, that I'm starting to see that other option of adopting a kid is really something that doesn't bother me at all anymore, for one, and is looking more positive to me, is looking more like something I think I really would like to do. Maybe even if I had my own baby, that I would still want to adopt, especially because I work with children, and I work with children who are adopted, who have special needs and things like that, and just seeing what the love of a good family can do for kids in that situation is very inspiring as well. So I have a lot going into this, and I have a lot of reasons that I feel guilt for one reason or another over this whole situation. But when I really come down to it and I'm in that situation where I am feeling guilty, I tell myself, is this what Kellen and I want to do? Are we on the same page here about our family being our number one priority? And I can always say yes to that. And that's the one comforting thing that I always have. I try my hardest not to think about whether or not my parents or his parents will ever have grandkids, I try to just say, this is my family. I need to not worry about what anybody else is saying about this because this is my decision. I'm an adult. I have nobody to answer to in terms of this. This is my decision. This is Kellen's decision. And, we obviously spent a very long time on it. It's not something we've taken lightly. And no matter what the outcome is, whether we have a baby, we adopt a baby, we do both, if we're lucky, it's going to be the right decision for the two of us. And that's comforting to me. But I still have a lot of doubts in my mind as far as how we're going to pay for everything no matter what, because there's so much going on for Kellen and I about wanting to move because we really do need to get out of this apartment, about getting a new car, about other expenses and things like that. We're in a fairly good place, but we don't make a lot of money. We make more than enough to survive, but it's those extra things that we want that are hard to come by. So, it is what it is, but I think we're handling things well. I think it's easier to keep my guilt in check when I just think about my family. My family is me, Kellen, this dog, and a cat who's over there asleep on a beanbag chair. So, if you're in that situation where you're feeling guilty about, am I not giving my parents grandchildren? Am I not giving my spouse the children he always wanted? You have to, with your spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case is, whoever you're doing this with, talk to them, see if they are on the same page, see if you're going in the same direction, really. That's something that, should always be an open discussion with a person you're considering having children with, without a doubt. As far as, the parents thing, you have to think about it from your own angle, and you have to say, this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm disappointing someone or if I'm pleasing someone. All that matters is what's going on with me, and whenever the children do come along, their welfare matters. And it's hard to think that way, without a doubt. I know it's been very hard for me, but that's been the one thing that really helps me, is just focusing on my own family and not letting anyone else get in the way. So that's my little bit on guilt. I will update again probably next week. So have a good weekend, everybody. See you later.